Devarim, or Deuteronomy 17 through 20. Do not slaughter to YHVH your Elohim a bull or a sheep which has any blemish, any evil matter, for that's an abomination to YHVH your Elohim. When there's found in your midst, in any of your cities which YHVH your Elohim is giving you, a man or a woman who does what's evil in the eyes of YHVH your Elohim, in transgressing his covenant, and has gone down and served other mighty ones, and bowed down to them, or to the sun, or to the moon, or any of the host of the heavens, which I've commanded, and it's been made known to you, and you've heard and searched diligently, then see if true the matter is confirmed that such an abomination has been done in Israel, then you shall bring out to your gates that man or woman who's done this evil matter, and you shall stone to death that man or woman with stones. At the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall he that is to die be put to death. He is not put to death by the mouth of 1 witness. The hand of the witness shall be first against him to put him to death, and the hand of all the people last. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. When any matter arises which is too hard for you to judge, between blood and blood, between plea and plea, or between stroke and stroke, matters of strife within your gates, then you shall rise and go up to the place which YHVH your Elohim chooses, and shall come to the priests, the Levites, and to judge who is in those days, and shall inquire, and they shall declare to you the word of right ruling. And you shall do according to the word which they declare to you from that place which YHVH chooses. And you shall guard to do according to all they instruct you. Do according to the Torah in which they teach you, according to the right ruling which they say to you. You do not turn to the right or to the left from the word which they declare to you. And the man who acts arrogantly, so as not to listen to the priest who stands to serve before YHVH your Elohim, or the judge, that man shall die. So you shall purge the evil from Israel. And let all the people hear and fear, and no longer do arrogantly. When you come to the land which YHVH your Elohim is giving you, and shall possess it, and shall dwell in it, and you shall say, let me set a sovereign over me, like all the nations around me. You shall certainly set a sovereign over you, whom YHVH your Elohim shall choose. Set a sovereign over you from among your brothers. You're not allowed to set a foreigner over you who is not your brother. Only he is not to increase horses for himself, nor cause the people to return to Mitzrayim to increase horses. For YHVH has said to you, do not return that way again. And he is not to increase wives for himself, lest his heart turn away. Nor is he to greatly increase silver and gold for himself. And it shall be, when he sits on the throne of his reign, that he shall write for himself a copy of this Torah in a book from the one before the priests, the Levites, and it shall be with him, and he shall read it all the days of his life, so that he learns to fear YHVH his Elohim, and guard all the words of this Torah and these laws to do them, so that his heart is not lifted up above his brothers, and so as not to turn aside from the command right or left, so that he prolongs his days in his reign, he and his children in the midst of Israel. Chapter 18. The priests, the Levites, all the tribe of Levi, have no part nor inheritance with Israel. They are to eat the offerings of Yahovah made by fire, and his inheritance. But among his brothers, Levi has no inheritance. Yahovah is his inheritance, as he has spoken to him. And this is the priest's right from the people, from those who slaughter slaughtering, whether it's a bull or a sheep. They shall give it to the priest, the shoulder and the two cheeks and the stomach, the first fruits of your grain and your new wine and your oil, and the first of the fleece of your sheep you give to him. For Yahovah your Elohim has chosen him out of all your tribes to stand to serve in the name of Yahovah, him and his sons forever. And when the Levite comes from one of your gates, from where he sojourned among all Israel, and shall come with all the desire of his being to the place which Yahovah chooses, then he shall serve in the name of Yahovah his Elohim, like all his brothers the Levites who are standing there before Yahovah. They are to have portion for portion to eat, besides what comes from the sale of his inheritance. When you come into the land which Yahovah your Elohim is giving you, do not learn to do according to the abominations of those nations. Let no one be found among you who makes his son or daughter pass through the fire, or one who practices divination, or a user of magic, or one who interprets omens, or a sorcerer, or one who conjures spells, or a medium, or a spiritist, or one who calls up the dead. For whoever does these is an abomination to Yahovah, and because of these abominations, Yahovah your Elohim drives them out from before you. Be perfect before Yahovah your Elohim. For these nations whom you are possessing do listen to those using magic and to diviners. But as for you, Yahovah your Elohim has not appointed such for you. Yahovah your Elohim shall raise up for you a prophet like me from your midst, from your brothers. Listen to him, according to all you asked of Yahovah your Elohim in Horeb in the days of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahovah my Elohim, nor let me see this great fire any more, lest I die. And Yahovah said to me, what they've spoken is good. I shall raise up for them a prophet like you out of the midst of their brothers, and I shall put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I command him. And it shall be, the man who does not listen to my words which he speaks in my name, I require it of him. But the prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other mighty ones, even that prophet shall die. And when you say in your heart, how do we know the word which Yahovah has not spoken, when the prophet speaks in the name of Yahovah, and the word is not, or comes not, that's the word which Yahovah has not spoken. The prophet spoken it presumptuously. Do not be afraid of him. Chapter 19. When Yahovah your Elohim cuts off the nations whose land Yahovah your Elohim is giving you, and you dispossess them and dwell in their cities and in their houses, separate 3 cities for yourself, in the midst of your land which Jehovah your Elohim is giving you to possess. Prepare a way for yourself and divide into 3 parts the border of your land which Jehovah your Elohim is giving you to inherit, so that any manslayer shall flee there. And this matter of the manslayer who flees there and lives, he who strikes his neighbor unknowingly, not having hated him in the past, even he who goes to the forest with his neighbor to cut timber, and his hand swings a stroke with the axe to cut down the tree, and the head slips from the handle and strikes his neighbor so that he dies, will let him flee to one of these cities and live, lest the Redeemer of blood, while his displeasure is hot, pursue that manslayer and overtake him, because the way is long, and shall strike his being, even though he was not worthy of death, since he didn't hate him before. Therefore I'm commanding you, saying, separate 3 cities for yourself. And if Jehovah your Elohim enlarges your border, as he swore to your fathers, and has given you the land which he promised to give to your fathers, when you guard all this command to do it, which I'm commanding you today, to love your Elohim and walk in his ways all the days, and then you shall add 3 more cities for yourself besides these 3, so that innocent blood is not shed in the midst of your land, which Jehovah your Elohim is giving you as an inheritance, or blood guilt shall be upon you. But when anyone hates his neighbor, and shall lie in wait for him, and rise against him and strike his being so that he dies, and then he shall flee to one of these cities, and the elders of the city shall send and bring him from there, and give him into the hand of the Redeemer of blood, and he shall die. Your eye shall not pardon him, but you shall purge the blood of the innocent from Israel, so that it might be well with you. Do not remove your neighbor's boundary, which those in the past have set in your inheritance, which you inherit in the land that Jehovah your Elohim is giving you to possess. 1 witness does not rise up against a man concerning any crookedness or any sin that he commits. At the mouth of 2 witnesses, or at the mouth of 3 witnesses, a matter is established. When a malicious witness rises up against any man to accuse him of turning aside, then both men who have the dispute shall stand before Jehovah, before the priests and the judges who serve in those days, and the judges shall diligently search and see if the witness is a false witness who has falsely accused his brother. Then you shall do to him as he thought to have done to his brother. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. And let the rest hear and fear, and never again do this evil matter in your midst. And let your eye not pardon. Life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Chapter 20. And when you go out to battle against your enemies, and shall see horses and chariots and people more numerous than you, do not be afraid of them. For Jehovah your Elohim, who brought you up from the land of Mitzrayim, is with you. And it shall be when you draw near to battle, that the priest shall come and speak to the people, and shall say to them, Hear, O Israel, you're drawing near today to battle with your enemies. Do not let your heart faint, do not fear, or tremble, or be afraid before them. For Yehovah your Elohim is he who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies to save you. And the officers shall speak to the people, saying, Who is the man who has built a new house and not dedicated it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in battle and another man dedicate it. And who is the man who has planted a vineyard and has not begun to use it? Let him also go and return to his house, lest he die in battle and another man should begin to use it. And who is the man who is engaged to a woman and has not taken her? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in battle and another man take her. And the officers shall speak further to the people and say, Who is the man who is afraid and tender of heart? Let him go return to his house, lest the heart of his brothers faint like his heart. And it shall be when the officers have finished speaking to the people, that they shall appoint commanders of the divisions to lead the people. When you draw near to a city to fight against it, then you shall make a call for peace to it. And it shall be that if it accepts your call for peace, and shall open to you, then all the people found in it are to be your compulsory labor and serve you. But if it does not make peace with you, and shall fight against you, then you shall besiege it. And Yehovah your Elohim shall give it into your hands, and you shall strike every male in it with the edge of the sword. Only the women and the little ones and the livestock and all that's in the city, all its spoil, you take as plunder for yourself. And you shall eat the enemy's plunder, which Yehovah your Elohim gives you. Do so to all the cities which are very far from you, which are not of the cities of these nations. Only of the cities of these peoples, which Yehovah your Elohim gives you as an inheritance, you do not keep alive any that breathe, but you shall certainly put them under the ban, the Hittite, and the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, as Yehovah your Elohim has commanded you, lest they teach you to do according to all their abominations which they've done for their mighty ones, and you sin against Yehovah your Elohim. When you besiege a city for a long time by fighting against it to take it, you do not destroy its trees by wielding an axe against them. If you do eat of them, do not cut them down. For is the tree of the field a man to be besieged by you? Only the trees which you know are not trees for food you do destroy and cut down to build siege works against the city that's fighting against you until it falls.